damn these indeed. What's up, everybody?
And I ain't never met a riverboat dealer that could ever be a friend of mine.
I have not.
Summer heat never treats me kind.
It leaves trouble on my mind.
So I'm bidding farewell, putting in my notice, and I'll see you at another time. This highway does not know my name, and I don't care.
No, I don't care. What's up, Moosehead, Pensacola, Florida lowlifer? What's up, boys?
To
another place, and I got
3 good tires and a spare.
Right to the hook right here.
Just a white line gypsy getting out of Mississippi with just enough gas to get
low budget live. Actually live emergency press conference. Do I have some kind of crazy? I think I do. Hang on a second. Yeah, there we go. Emergency press conference. We do have in just a little bit, in just a few minutes, the one, the only, the boss man, Brad Fuller from the NPFL, El Presidente himself, is going to join us for this special emergency edition. Not really emergency edition. I did have a podcast ready to roll, and I knew they had told us at the league this weekend during live while we were doing the broadcast there, me and the one and only Big Cat, Fat Cat Newton, that there would be an announcement this week. So we knew it was coming this week. We weren't really sure the timing of it. And then press releases go out this morning, hot to the presses. And here we go. So we will be joined by the one and only Brad Fuller. What's up, everybody? Good to see y'all in the comments. It's been a crazy day. I can imagine. I see some of y'all saying, man, I've got some entertainment out of reading these comments. I mean, I'm talking about I've been tagged. I've been hit with shrapnel. I've been praised. I don't know, all sorts of things today, which I'm used to. Y'all know that. I'm used to it. So there's been a little bit of that today for sure. And we'll get down to it with Mr. Fuller here in just a few minutes. But first, I want to say go Big Orange. Damn it, football season's back, even though I was in Wisconsin during the game and they don't believe in college football up there around Milwaukee where I was at. Apparently, I couldn't watch it. I was watching it on Hulu on my phone, but got to see the Vols. I hope you're whoever you're pulling for, as long as they're not playing the Vols, won this weekend. But I want to say real quick, a huge congrats to Gary Atkins. He won the NPFL event we just had at Saginaw Bay, became a 2-time NPFL champion on that same body of water. He won there in 2022 at Saginaw Bay. The same season he went on to win the Progressive Angler of the Year. Dude is a smallmouth absolute hammer. But this time, and the first time he won by 4 ounces. Okay. This time he wins by 1 ounce over Zach Burge and Jason Williamson. Zach had a dead fish penalty for 4 ounces that would have taken him over the top. Crazy. Trent Palmer back in 4th place. Trent was the day one leader. Trent won last year by 4 ounces. Trent only brings in 3 fish on day 2, rallies on day 3, catches another 20-pound plus bag, has a dead one, unfortunately. Would have tied Gary, wins the tiebreaker. John Cox misses out by less than a pound. Kevin Martin, who was leading going into Showdown Saturday. It was a dramatic ending to an event. And we've had 3 events 3 years in a row at Saginaw. They've all been very different. Such a cool fishery. They've all been very different, but they've all been decided by ounces, not even a pound altogether in 3 years. So incredible event. If you tuned into live, man, we surely appreciate you. We had a good time. That's for sure. I want to say real quick, thanks to the sponsors, gillfishing.com. You can use code LBO gift when you spend $100 LBO gift. You'll get a gift for being a low lifer. ProGuyBatteries.com. Some of the best batteries in the game, lithiums, AGMs. They've got their new chargers. Code LBL10 there. Get you a little bit of a savings right there. Bait-WRX.com, the one and only online home for this right here. The LOB jig. It's absolutely a fish catcher. If you know, you know, one of those situations. I see a lot of y'all using it out there and I appreciate it. Duncan-10 at bait-works is going to save you money. And last but not least, hang the imaginary banner. Express Boats, the original all-welded aluminum bass boat. I'm running the X21 Pro LE this year. They've got the X19. They've got the H series, the new H20 with a 175 Yamaha show is bad to the bone. Express Boats building excitement since 1966. All right. I've got a spider literally crawling on my monitor where I see all this craziness going on, these comments. So doesn't look like a tarantula or brown recluse or something out of the Amazon. So lots of comments coming in. Y'all are just burning it down. Mixed reaction today. So before we get the boss man on here to talk, and this is something he and I talked about. I was like, hey man, let's do this. Let's have an open and honest conversation. And if you have ever seen Brad on this show, or Brad Fuller, you will know that's what you're fixing to get, right? You're fixing to get an open and honest conversation. He is definitely not one to, he's transparent. He's not one to hide behind smoke and mirrors. That is my opinion of this man. I know him very well. I've known him for 4 years. That being said, and he will tell you that he and I have had this conversation over the past, couple of months when they were talking about this loosely. I've said it on the show. I'm not for a ban. I'm not for bans of any kind, though. That being said, I think it can be dangerous, right? And Brad and I have actually had this conversation. We'll have it again tonight, I'm sure. But I think that his reasoning, their reasoning at the league, reading the press release, this was not something that was done lightly. I want to say that. I worry about, and again, this is a conversation he and I have had, and we'll have it again tonight. I worry about some of the younger anglers that, focus on live scope. They do focus on more of it. We've talked about on here. But then again, you have this entire demographic of anglers that don't like it. So, and it's the same with the fans. You can see it in the comments today. You have people applauding. You have people trying to tear down the league for doing it. So it is the quintessential damned if you do, damned if you don't. It just is. It is. No matter how the decision goes, damned if you do, damned if you don't. So that's my take on it. Long-term effects on fisheries, things like that, we don't know. Obviously, from a tournament perspective, we know what NPFL is going to do next year. The biggest problem I got with it, and Brad's in the waiting room, he's going to laugh at me for saying this. The biggest problem I got with the decision today on the announcement is he just screwed the hell out of my Labor Day. Probably his too, if I'm guessing, and everybody else involved, because my phone, this joker right here today, has truly just been hot. It's been hot all day. Finally, about 3 o'clock, I said, you know what? I'm going to lay this damn thing down. We're doing a podcast tonight, me and the El Prez, and we'll sort this out. But man, I finally put the thing down. I was like, hey, we can't touch this anymore because it's good Lord. Listen, I got hit with shrapnel. People were like, well, they'd get more views if they just didn't have Luke Duncan. I'm like, hell, I don't disagree with you, bud. I don't disagree with you. Maybe that's the case. Maybe they get some dancing girls. Maybe they get, some scantily clad ladies that talk about bass fishing, and then the views go up and ban live scope and everything's perfect in this world. I'm not sure, but let's, I know Boyd Duckett coming to fish the NPFL in 2024, 2025. I don't know. He may be banned. All right. Let's get to it. Let's get to it, because I see him waiting. I know y'all are ready, and I'm ready to talk to El Prez, since all this has gone down, to get an update on his day, get kind of how we got here to this situation, how we got here, why the timing of it is announced right now. We still got a couple events to go. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, 331,000 on Low Budget Live right now, El Presidente, Brad Fuller from the NPFL. What's up, Mr. Fuller?
What's up, Mr. Duncan? Haven't talked to you in, I don't know, a couple hours.
Couple hours, bud. So anything new in your life?
No, man. Played golf this morning, did some food plot work, ran a dozer a little bit. Yeah.
That is bull, sir. I don't believe your day's been quiet, because I know mine hasn't at all. So walk us through just right out of the gate. We're getting a lot of questions from people about when the schedule is going to drop and different things, and we'll get there. There's a lot that goes into all this, but kind of right out of the jump, how did you and Mike Como, ownership, the entire management team there, how did you guys arrive at this, and when did you start talking about it? And before you answer, there's something that I did see in the comments before I ever went live, and it's something I've said to you, because we went from this time last year, we did the first ever, we were the first ones to show the Sonar View, the Sonar Pro Sonar View, right? Like, we figured it out. We were the first organization to do it. We were very proud of that, right? And then a year later, the announcement comes for 2025 to ban it, right? So how did that conversation kind of take that direction, the thought process, all of it? Walk us through it, because when you read a statement, as you know, you can, hear it from the horse's mouth right here on Low Budget Live.
Yeah. And look, that's a good way to open the show. And man, I might have to talk for like 20 minutes to cover it all. Right. But, and literally we started looking at these things, I'm going to say probably at the beginning of the season, like, cause it's always, there's been rumblings of it, like, hey, what are we going to do? And not we as in a fishing industry, looking at it. And I want to make a couple very upfront statements, and the people who take it for face value are going to take it for face value, and the people who don't aren't, right? And I'm going to say this: I'm not here to placate to the people who just want to run their damn mouth. That's reality. If you don't have something constructive or something to add to the conversation, just take your keyboard, break it over your mom's head, and go back upstairs out of the basement.
There's been a little of that today, but there's always that. And dude, so emotional.
And when you give people anonymity, it's a license for chaos. And I don't want that to detract away from the real conversations that need to happen here. First and foremost, I'm going to tell you that two things. One, this was purely a business decision. I love forward-facing sonar. I enjoy using it. I have it on my boat. I will not be taking it off my boat. No, that does not make me a hypocrite. There's a couple business premises here that are foundational in this decision. And I think the most important thing, Luke, and you and I've had this, it feels weird because I've said all these things to you, right? And
you and I've had we've had heated back and forth about this for the last couple months.
I think the one thing that I'll say, with zero reservation, is the fact that when you make a decision like this, you really got to dig down, man, and go to a quiet place and figure out what you as a man or a person and a business owner, what do you really believe in? Like, what are you willing to hang your hat on and say 100%, good, bad, or indifferent, I believe this. Here's what Brad Fuller believes. I believe that this technology, because I've been using this kind and type of technology in the military in the early 2000s. I kind of think I have a better idea of how this is going to evolve over the next 1 to 2 to 5 years. And there's indicators within the industry, I think, that show me that. This isn't like I don't have a feeling in my gut. Like, there's things happening, the processor speeds and units and things like that. When they start to really focus on increasing processor speeds and things like that, like, that's so you can give them more capability. So here's what I believe. This technology in professional bass fishing at the highest level will not be able just to be left alone and go unchecked. I believe at some point we are going to have to do some sort of regulation, whether we do it now or someone does it later, whatever that is. I believe something will have to be done because it will literally render the sport of professional bass fishing unrecognizable as we see it today. That's what I believe. Now, if you agree with that, great. If you don't, that's fine. But that's what I believe. And I'm the one making the decisions here at the NPFL about what direction we go. I'm telling the people, that's a foundational aspect of what I believe.
So kind of put the brakes on it before it gets out of control type situation to you.
Well, I think so. That's one factor, right? Like so you go, okay, I believe that. Okay. You go, well, is that good or bad for the sport? Then you start to go down that road. And then you start to roll in things like, are we really, from a content generation side, are the tournaments that we're generating our content off of now, are they as good as they could be? And are they better with forward-facing sonar or without? And man, it hit me a couple times this weekend. And because the thing is, Luke, again, this is what I believe. If you watch a St. Lawrence, a Champlain, and a Saginaw Bay tournament, take away the logos, take away the names on the jerseys, and just look at the silhouette of a person and what they're doing, man, it all looks exactly the same. There's no diversity in the content, right? But
no doubt. Yeah. I'll be the first to say, I like watching big smallmouth get caught. I've said that, but we had moments.
I felt sorry. Yeah.
That I actually made jokes that I took a break for a second, ran to the restroom. I came back in and Fat Cat, I was real quiet. He goes, "You okay over there?" I was like, "Oh man, I was just thinking about watching paint dry," because we had a quad box up and it was 4 dudes looking down and nothing, and they weren't catching anything. The bite had gotten really slow. When they're catching them, I don't give a crap how they're catching them, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like as long as they're catching them.
And then you go, dude, I got to watch more live for some reason at this event than I usually do. You know what I mean? I think Elon Musk may have had something to do with that. So we had the Starlink up and running, so it was easy for me to stream, in proximity to the trailer. So maybe it has something to do with it. But dude, the level of the feeling of the show changed when Zach Burge went to the bank and started throwing a swim jig and fishing in the grass. You know what I mean? And I thought, man, how cool would it be if we didn't have, then you go, well, I know we're banning it. If we didn't have forward-facing sonar in this event, would it be a better event content-wise, viewership-wise, and more entertaining if we didn't have forward-facing sonar? Would Trent have caught 25, almost 26 pounds on the first day? Absolutely not. But I think you would have had more anglers up in the grass, more activity, more action, more fish caught because of the population of largemouth bass that live there. And then the risk it for the biscuit kind of thing comes. Do I go out there and try to catch a 5 or 6 pound smallmouth to make the difference? It would change the whole dynamic of the tournament. And listen, man, we can do this all day long, right? We could go, what if? Here's another major factor, right? There's no secret where the NPFL stands with regards to the 3 major tournament organizations, BASS, MLF, and the NPFL, right? So, and I don't even know if this is 100% true or not, but we're about to find out.
That was actually something I was gonna ask you.
But if I can force, or if I can start to inflict some thoughts into people's minds where there could be a reallocation of assets, sponsorship dollars, viewership, customer and fan base. If I can do something in my business to force a reallocation, I'm probably not going to lose anything from all that, right? Like, when you ain't got a lot to lose, you ain't got a lot to lose. So any reallocation or the way that would reshuffle could potentially benefit the NPFL in the near, mid, and long term. So I've also had a couple conversations with sponsors, and I'll be honest, Luke, I was surprised, and I haven't told you this, I was surprised at what they said. And this subject came up. They said, "Hey, we've heard rumors that this is happening." And I said,
"Hang on, Brad, is it what type sponsor, if you don't care? Is it a lure company? Or are we talking non-endemic? What are you talking about?"
So both of these were endemic sponsors. Okay. So they're endemic, I would say multi-conglomerate companies. So bigger, there's a few out there that are bigger sponsors that own multiple companies under their umbrella, right? And I just said, "Hey man, what do you guys want? Like, what do you want to see in the industry? And what do you want to happen?" And I was really shocked at what they said. They said, "Here's the deal, man. We don't care which way it goes, because we think we have enough diversity within our product lines that we don't care which way it goes. We want to see somebody stand up and make a stand and tell us what you believe in and stand on that and be a leader and go to work. That's what we want to see." And I just thought, man, that's us, right? That's what we do. That's how we do. I have not signed a deal with those sponsors. I don't know if I will sign a deal with those sponsors, but it caught me kind of off guard to hear them put it that way. Now, does that translate to dollars? I don't know if it does or not. But again, we're going to find out.
Well, and that kind of leads to one of the questions I had. So with this, I mean, announcement, obviously you're rolling the dice, right? You just admitted that, like you don't know that it is a damned if you do, damned if you don't topic. You're going to have anglers leave. I mean, you've got anglers pissed that fish with us now. We've seen it, right? Like I've seen it in the comments today. Some of our absolute just hammers, for lack of a better word, but they're upset. They're upset, and you got to assume at least those guys will leave potentially. And there's lots of things out there to fish, and they'll do that. So you do roll the dice with a decision like this. That being said, do you think, with all the bitching that we've seen about forward-facing sonar, that other anglers from other leagues that don't currently fish NPFL will take their place? Like, what's the reality to you? Like, how do you think it looks going into 2025 as far as a percentage of your current field that we have in the NPFL versus what it looks like next year?
So we've always ran, Luke, like anywhere from a 36 to a 42% turnover every year, right? When I sat down and said, hey, this guy probably stays, this guy probably goes, that number didn't really change. It was just a different group of people. You know what I mean? Like, so
I think we've had only, I forget, I'll have to look at the stat that I've got Ken Duke put together of how many anglers have fished all 4 seasons. It's very few.
I think it's 30. I think it's like 13.
Yeah, it's not many that have fished all 4 seasons that we've had.
Right. So, here's what I want guys to understand, man. We pride ourselves as a company of letting anglers and being close to anglers. And I've grown into the role of, hey man, anglers can't run your business for you. You know what I mean? And I've learned to walk that tightrope, because early in this deal, when I took over as president, the pendulum was swung way too far the other. We were too placating. We were too open. We were too transparent. And yes, guys, for your viewers, that's a thing. You know what I mean? Like you can't let the anglers run your business for you, because they literally can't even agree on what the life jacket rule should say. You know what I mean? And that's not a diss towards anglers. They're just a very unorganized group when it comes to pushing something in a certain direction. That's my opinion, right? Like we've seen, we don't have angler committees here. Like we don't have an angler board, right? And there's all reasons for that. But we've always told the anglers, hey man, Luke Duncan, I want you to do what's best for you, the triple threat, and your whole tribe there in Southern Middle Tennessee. Whatever that is, bro, you've got my support. If that's with the NPFL, I'm with you. If you say, hey man, my best deal is to go fish the opens, bro, when you're in the opens, I'm going to be sending you text messages telling you go crush it and go kill them and win all the money you can and make the elites. When our guys go fish the opens and make the elites, I text them all the time like, hey man, super proud of you. Love seeing you out there. Go win you a blue trophy. I'm asking for the same reciprocation for me and Michelle, Mike and Kathy, to allow us the opportunity to do what we feel is best for our business. I truly believe this is the best decision for the NPFL. I'm going to own it, whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent. And we're rolling the dice, and we understand that. It doesn't mean I don't care about those guys any more or less. Doesn't mean that I think they're bad people. But, bro, we all know, Luke, and you've been there. We've been there together, buddy, me and you. When the chips are down and our backs against the wall, you find out who's in your corner. You find out who's really got your back. You find out who really cares about you. And I'm going to tell you, bro, that's bothered me more today than anything, because there's a bunch of sumbitch anglers that I got nothing left for, buddy. You hear that in my voice? Shaking, dude.
Yeah,
shaking. My heart got broke today, buddy. And I'm not trying to be a little bitch about it. I'm just saying that there were people that I thought the world of that literally took a shit on my back. And I don't forget it. Ever.
And these are anglers that fish the NPFL that disagree
100%.
with the decision.
Yeah, and look, man, you can disagree. Like, I've got dear friends, Kevin Martin, the guy that he lives 20 minutes down the road from me, right? Had a chance to win this event. He and I had a great conversation about forward-facing sonar earlier, right? Like not during the event, like earlier, like probably a week before the event. And we don't agree on it. Guess what? I'm still going to go over to Kevin's place and hunt on his farm. I'm still going to send deer pictures back and forth with him. You know what I mean? So That's bothered me more than anything. And I'll be honest, I need to have thicker skin. I need to not take it so personal. But there are some guys who have said some things, and I'm not going to use any names, but you can scroll through the comments on our post and you can pick this guy out. Well, clearly they don't care about the anglers. That bothers me a lot. The amount of work we put in to taking care of anglers, the amount of work that we put in at the events to give them their $5,200 worth when they don't catch them, for them to walk away feeling like they got their money's worth, bro, we do that way better than anybody else. And so for that, I'm upset.
Well, I do think, and I'm not all for the decision on the ban. You know that. You and I've talked about that. For the ban. We've talked about hybridized. We've talked about a lot of things. Banning things is scary for me. You and I've talked about that, being gun guys, being passionate, firearm owners, using that just as an example. Like, bans make me nervous. That was the first time you ever threw this at me at all. I was like, Brad, hang on now, time out. And you and I have had spirited conversations about it. Today I would say what sucks the most is the fact that I think the visceral side of the internet, whether you're for or against it, like I just said, I am not for this necessarily, right? Like, I'm just not. Like, and I told you originally when you said, hey, this is what we're thinking about doing. What do you think? And I said, look, Brad, I love what I do for the NPFL. I love the anglers. I love sitting in the studio with my boy Fat Cat. He's one of my best friends. And I'm going to be there if they're shaking a minnow or shaking a swim jig, right? I think that was my exact words to you. I said, hey, That's what I'm going to do, buddies. If you're going to have me, that's what I'm going to be there doing. That being said, bans are not something that I enjoy. But I think the passionate, like the insult side of it, I think is what got me today a little bit. Just people either trashing the league, not for the decision, but just the fact that it exists, right? Like that stuff, seeing that stuff's just ridiculous.
Well, I mean, and listen, I told Michelle, I was like, hey, I had an epiphany today, bro. Like one of those things, I'm like, holy crap, I'm 50 years old and I just realized this. There are people who open up social media and go look for things to comment on.
Oh, ain't no doubt about that. And, bro, negative, like they love that.
Like the drop, and dude, I was like, that just hit me. Maybe I don't know, like whatever that makes me, but it just hit me down. Like, holy cow, man! Like, there's literally people who just go look for things to stir up stuff on. And listen, I'm glad to give it to them. Whatever. I hope they're the happiest people in the world today because they got to spit some hate and do what they do. Right?
They're not. But, they'll be doing it again tomorrow on something else.
And I think it's important to move on past that, Luke, and look at what we're trying to do here at the NPFL. Like, we just hired the guy who is a walking encyclopedia of bass fishing to help us with our messaging and content side. And he's probably sitting at home right now watching this and watching me spit some stuff on here. Like, oh my God, like we're never going to recover from this. But I've warned Ken multiple times.
King style.
Yeah. But I think at the end of the day, man, I was going to ask you, do you remember what I said to you when you said, hey, whether we're shaking a minnow or flipping a jig, do you remember what I said back to you?
I don't remember. I'll be honest. I've had a gummy or two since then.
I said, hey, man, I said, the reality of it is we're all going to be here regardless.
No doubt. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And what we're trying to do is maximize the potential. And look, guys, we're a startup company, 5 years in existence, 4 years here running tournaments. We've built a really, really good tournament trail. I would argue when guys leave our tournaments, they're happier than they've ever been fishing at this level, right? Like, we really try to make it an event where guys enjoy themselves. They have fun. It's a family atmosphere. We help each other. We're participants in this with you. We're present in our business, all those things. And at the end of the day, that doesn't change any of that, right? Like, we're still going to be the first ones on the ramp in the morning to put all the anglers in the water, to make sure you shut your lights off and roll up your windows, right? I'm going to be the last one to leave the ramp at night for practice days to make sure that everybody's off the water. And I believe, Luke, there's a couple things here that as we go down this non-forward facing sonar, I'm curious. Just like I was reading some of the comments, and I haven't been on, I've stayed off of it all day, and I've had a few things screenshot and sent to me. That's
lucky you.
Well, dude, I just refused. Like I was literally not home. Michelle was texting me. I was like, I'm going to come home and bury your phone with the dozer and we'll dig it up in a week.
So
But
I told Marissa, like I said this morning, like you guys sent us, you said, hey, we're doing this. Press release is coming out. And here's a press release. And I'm like, okay. And I actually said to Marissa, I said, you know what? I'm not gonna engage. I'm not gonna do this. I'm not. Reached out to you. We talked about doing a podcast. And then I'm like, we're just gonna ignore this today. But then, Mr. Fuller, I just can't help myself. And you get and I did. I just got to the point where you do get consumed with it. It's like, damn, man. You can't let yourself go down that rabbit hole. And I did, because I really knew going in what it was going to be, right? It was going to be good, bad, and ugly. Like you were going to have all three sides of it. But holy crap, man.
Well, man, let's talk about some actual like things instead of that, right? Like, and dude, I've really tried to do a better job of turning the other cheek on a lot of that stuff. When it gets personal is where it crosses the line with me sometimes, and I apologize, but it does. What's really good for the sport of bass fishing, right? Listen, with the divisiveness, you're either for it, you're against it, or you don't care. That's the one of three genres you fall into. There's nowhere for someone to go that doesn't like it. They just have to bitch about it every time they see it on TV. You know what I mean? We now have an option. If you want to watch a tournament with no forward-facing sonar, you have somewhere that you can go. If you want to watch a little bit of it, but you don't want to see it all the time, it sounds like you may have somewhere to go. If you love it and that's all you want to see and you want it shoved down your throat, you got somewhere to go. Like diversity in this sport within the content side of what we generate between Bass MLF and us, diversity is good. Here's the other thing, man. I believe that I'm real curious to see how, like, we fish our first non-forward facing sonar tournament. And I'm curious what the feel of the anglers are, right? Because here's the deal. Your audience will be surprised at the guys who will still be fishing the NPFL. I promise you. Because there's guys here that are really, really good with it. But if they didn't have to use it, they don't want to use it. And they've committed to staying here, right? So I think that's going to be interesting. I think there's people that we've never even heard of yet that will be in the NPFL because they'll get a chance here with us and they're going to make a name for themselves because they enjoy fishing without forward-facing sonar. And man, we bounce around all these words. Is it traditional? Is it parochial? Is it old school? Like, what is it? Hey, man, it's just fishing, but it's going to be a more diverse set of techniques potentially than what we're seeing now. And I think that's good.
Oh, it'll damn sure be diverse from what we see now for the most part, as far as the overall average, right? Because I've said on here, like, and it was the same at ICAST this year. I mean, it is pretty much a jig head mental world. It just is. Like, and look, I got 6 of them tied on the front deck of my boat right now, big guy. I like it. But I'm just saying that's kind of where we've gone, right? From a technique perspective. Like, we were all high-fiving, even though, again, like, not crazy about a ban, but we were high-fiving when Will Harkins won on a square bill in February at Logan Martin, because we were like, hell yeah. We didn't watch live scope for 3 days for the first tournament of the year, and there was a lot of shallow fish that got caught in that event, and we were jacked about it, man. Like, we were really pumped. I said it on this show, like, it was so refreshing to watch that. It just was. So I know we're going to see diverse techniques next year. I do have legitimate concerns, and I think our anglers will, from a standpoint of, you know, it's only not available to our anglers, right? So I think it's very important. We haven't released a schedule yet, but it's very important, I think, and I know you guys know this and are looking at this, but your weekend guy can still use it, right? Other tournament trails can still use it. So we're going to have our anglers are going to have to attack a body of water completely different than the rest of the world pinging on them with a minnow, right? So I do think that makes some fisheries more challenging for our anglers. Do you agree with that?
I think it's probably a split based on some of the kind of anecdotal information that we were able to look at with the potential schedule for 25. I think you have to acknowledge both sides of the coin, right? Like, it could make it better in some ways because there's a population of fish that are relatively untouched because everybody and their brother from 6 years old to 60 is out there with the live scope chasing pelagic roaming fish, and they're not beating up and getting deeply activated on some of the other fish that live around the lake. You know what I mean? So I think it'll be a wash. Like there are certain lakes at certain times, and man, Paul Benson and I just had a knockdown drag out. Big surprise. And I said, you keep your hind end out of these comments. And it was relative to schedule. And it's, look, man, if we go to a lake in May, I'm not going to have a forward facing scoreboard going, well, this is what they caught on forward facing. And our guys only caught this, or our guys non-forward facing. I'm not interested in keeping that score. There's plenty of homers and keyboard warriors out there to keep that score for us. I understand what you're saying. It's more relative. To me, it's more important for the NPFL and our programming and our sponsors about what type of content we're able to generate from those events. Because listen, Luke, I've never had a venue. Now, granted, I ain't been doing this for 50 years. I don't know if Chase can say the same thing or not. When you get him on here, you have to ask him. But I've never had a bit.
Probably won't ever happen, Brad, but continue.
Okay. I've never had a venue come back and go, man, Brad, we paid you X dollars to be here. And man, you guys just didn't really catch enough weight. We're really going to have to look at that next year. It's about what you do and how you generate the content and the storylines you develop. Luke, I would say one of our best events last year. Well, let me ask you, what was our best event last year? And you follow 100%.
You follow, and it was 32 pounds to win or whatever. Yeah, it was terrible. But it was our best event. I would agree with that.
It was crazy good, right? So I think when we look at things like that, man, some of the things that Ken Duke is introducing and getting the NPFL media machine up and running, kind of getting us more content centric, promoting our anglers, growing stars, doing all those things. I think this certainly puts us in a unique position within the fishing industry to have a unique approach with sponsors and with content. And I think those things cannot be overlooked once you get past all the angst of we're betting. And dude, I know what I was going to say. You know what dude, I'm not a cancel culture guy, right? I'm not a bang guy, right? Trust me, anyone who knows me knows that's the case. And I think that's why I struggled so much with this decision, because I told you earlier, it's man, I don't want to ban it. I don't want to prohibit the use. I don't want to restrict it. And the hybridized deal for me, and we said it in our press release, I just could never come to grips, Luke. And you and I, this was your and I's big discussion for the fans at home. I could never sit down and write a press release where I could justify a hybridized. It was an appeasement move. Bro, I'm just not an appeaser. It's either good or bad. It's black and white, right? I don't know if that's the right answer or not.
Well, look, I don't know that hybridized is perfect, right? I don't know that. I know that when I ask fans on my show, and my fans are different than, and I hate the word fan, low lifers. Let's use low lifers. Because fans sound like I'm Garth Brooks.
They're fanatics, bro. They are fanatics.
Because here's the deal. Results can be skewed, because if Randy Blockett asked the same question that I asked, the results will be obviously different, right? But what I saw when I asked that question was overwhelmingly hybridized. That's what there were very few ban it in the comments. Again, that's a very small sample set, but it's what I saw, through the show. And I know, again, if you ask on Randy Blockett's channel, it's going to be block it forever, He said he got a victory today, Brad. Damn you for that, too, because he was like, a victory. He got a victory. He had not shit to do with this. Let me say that. But people have been tagging me, man, Blockett didn't have anything to do with the fact that this got taken away. I'm getting spammed in the comments. Hang on.
The fact that you had to say that makes me cringe, by the way.
Yeah, I know. It's stupid. But he got a victory. All right, here, this question, people are just tagging this guy. Serious question. It has been mentioned that there was a league survey in which 85% of the angler survey were in favor of keeping forward facing. Is this true? And why ignore those anglers? Because this has been asked 419 times. So
so let me address it. So Trent Palmer from Sonar Pros, who is a sponsor of the NPFL and an advocate for forward facing sonar, approached me about doing a survey. And I said, hey man, I'm not, because that leads to a false set of pretenses that the anglers are going to have a strong input into this business decision. I said, and the other thing it does is it causes rifts in the groups between the league and the middle of a season. I said, I'm not doing it. Not interested in it. Trent went and did it anyway, right? On his own fishing fruition. He paid, had the survey monkey done. He sent it out to everybody in the league. He did it on his own. That was not a league survey. That was a Trent Palmer survey. So the guys there at whatever the podcast is and Outdoor Georgia, Fish Outdoor, those guys, and Trent, like all those guys, that's where you're getting this 85, and it wasn't 85%. I seen the results of it, but the way the questions were asked, like it was 100% in my opinion. There were not the whole field took the survey; they refused to do it. So that for Brady, that's the reality. That was not a league survey. That was done by one of the anglers.
So also at this past event, and I don't, maybe you don't want to talk about this. If you don't, tell me to shut up, I guess. Too late now. But you had a meeting with the anglers. You had all the anglers at the meeting. What was the overall vibe, would you say, to the low lifers of all the anglers in a meeting about forward facing?
So we had our normal angler meeting, logistics and all that stuff. And then we said, hey, if you want to stay for a forward facing sonar meeting, you're welcome to stay. If you don't want to stay and listen to it, then you can leave. So to be honest, I don't know how many anglers stayed. I'm going to say maybe 100. And then we had the anglers come up front and sign up if they wanted to speak and give us their opinion about how they felt about forward facing sonar. What we didn't want to turn this into was a 37,000 minute discussion and point counterpoint and guys getting mad and all that stuff. So we kept it very almost like a town hall meeting, and we regulated it that way to kind of keep it under control. And just to be good stewards of everybody's time. Once we had all the anglers signed up, we said, hey guys, we'll look at the total number of anglers signed up. Originally, we we're going to give everybody 2.5 minutes, but only 7 anglers signed up out of the 100 to speak. So those 7 anglers got 4 minutes to get up and make their case for what they felt should be done. We listened to everything. We all took notes, and then we reconvened at a later date to kind of go over some of those notes and some of those points. But that's how that meeting was conducted.
So, and that was last Wednesday on the off day, right?
It was on the off day. Yes, sir. Wednesday.
So let me ask you this. I think this is important. And you and I had conversation, like transparent at ICAST, right? You and I had a conversation, but it was just like a feather in the breeze kind of conversation. Hey, Luke, what do you think about this? And I'm like, Brad. And that was it. We talked about it, and then we talked about it again later. But what would you say going into the angler meeting? Were you already thinking, because you sent Fat Cat and I know transparency. I said this at the first of the show. I guess it was Friday during live. Hey guys, we're going to make an announcement regarding, this is what I could read the text, show the text on here. We're going to make an announcement regarding our 2025 forward facing sonar plans next week after this event. You didn't say we're banning it, we're keeping it. You said, guys, you can make that announcement on the show that we will be making an announcement, right? So what was your thought process with that meeting? Were you already leaning one way or the other? If you were, could you have been swayed by the anglers? You see what I'm saying? Was it were you guys wanting that feedback, or what's the situation like there?
Yeah, there was a couple
that meeting.
Yeah, there was a couple concerns, Luke, and one of them was that I was leaning towards banning it. Just in full transparency, I think you knew by the conversation you and I had, and that's where my mind was. And the reason I wasn't willing to 100% commit to anybody about what decision I was going to make was I didn't feel comfortable doing that until I gave everybody an opportunity, because there was a chance that somebody stands up in that meeting and I go, holy crap, man, we didn't think of that. And I felt like we owed it to the field. We owed it to the anglers. We owed it to those guys to sit there and let them speak their mind about what they thought face to face, man to man, not in a survey, not anonymously on some survey that didn't even have a name tied to it. I wanted to look them in the eye, and I wanted to see how they felt about it more than I wanted to hear how they spoke about it. You know what I mean? And only 7 guys stood up and spoke their mind about it. And most of those guys were pro forward facing sonar. I'll tell you. But I had probably 40 guys come up to me during the event and go, hey man, I'm just not one of those guys that stand up in front of a group of people. It's nobody's business. This is mine and your business. eye to eye right now, and I want to have a conversation with you right now. And we had those conversations one-on-one. And I respect those guys for doing that. He's like, hey man, I don't want to stand up in front of a group of guys and pour my heart out to you as a league owner and the president. I want to do that kind of one-on-one. And we did that with everybody. So all in all, I'd say I heard from at least 50 anglers, either in the meeting or independently throughout the week.
So, and I think that you almost have to do it that way. Like you said, if you have those public forum things just end up kind of going to a no, screw you. No, you don't think like I do, like we see on Facebook, like we see in the comments. So now it's time, in my opinion, if you don't like it, if you don't like forward facing sonar, I mean, we're going to see if people put their damn money where their mouth is. And you know that. Like, that's the roll of the dice. We're going to see if anglers do. We're going to see if viewers do. You're going to see if sponsors do. But for all of the videos I've seen this year of very vocal professional anglers, if it ain't for you, you got a league in 2025 where you can go and you ain't got to worry about it.
Well, no. Hang on. Pump the brakes, Luke Duncan.
Hang on. All right.
Buddy,
I don't have a break. I don't have a sound of screeching brakes. Sorry.
Listen, I've had conversations with some of those guys, right? And I'm very hesitant because with some of them, because dude, they call me spitting venom, like towards the organization, towards forward-facing sonar, towards rules enforcement. I mean, and I'm like, man, how long down the road when you're in my organization did I do something you don't like and you're spitting venom because you're not catching them here either? And I said, hey man, don't come to this league because we're banning forward-facing sonar. Don't come to this league because we might ban forward-facing sonar. But if we ban it, don't come here because of that. There's so much more to the NPFL that you got to get your mind around before we just let you walk in the door and give you the keys to the castle. Like, you're a new guy at the NPFL. I don't care how long you've been fishing in an industry. Like, I think there are certainly guys, Luke, that I would love to have in the NPFL. Good, honest human beings. And there's guys out there that are just pissed off. Not at anything. They're just walk around pissed off. Dude, I've got enough. I live with Michelle. I've got enough of that in my life.
Come, dude.
I've got enough of that.
That wasn't the move.
She's in bed.
I'd rather you ban forward-facing sonar twice than get murdered in your sleep by Michelle.
But you know what I mean, dude? Like, I think some, and I just before we came on, I just answered a text from one of our anglers who was talking to one of those very popular anglers. Said, "Yeah, I might come over there. Yeah, you know, I'm thinking about coming there to fish." I'm like, "Oh, you just walk in here and, you know, show up at the first tournament and write us a check and jump in the water, huh? That's how this goes?" And dude, I'm a gatekeeper to this because of what we expect of the anglers, right? Like, if you're first in AOI or you're dead last in points, you get treated exactly the same with the ramp, right? You're expected to uphold our rules and regulations the same, and they're enforced the same. Nobody gets preferential treatment. Dude, I've got an article coming out next week that talks about importance and value, right? Every angler in the NPFL is of equal importance. Not every angler holds the same value because of their fear of influence or social media and who they are and what they've done in the sport. They have a different value to the NPFL, but they're no less or no more important than the next guy standing to the left and right of them. That's hard for guys to wrap their head around and separate that.
I will agree with you on that statement because I've seen that. Because we've got some, however you want to call it, bass fishing superstars. We've got some bass fishing legends fishing with us this year. We've got younger superstars. And I will say, and I think if there are NPFL anglers in the comments, they would, and I'm sure there are several watching this that would agree that you guys don't play favorites. Period. End of story. We don't on live. I think if it ever came across like we were playing favorites, like I see that with other organizations, I certainly do. You and I've actually talked about this, where you watch personalities seemingly pull for certain anglers and things. I feel like if that ever came across like I was doing that, by God, my phone would ring in the middle of live. Like, hey, Luke, not cool. Why are you doing that? Even if it was my own brother, right? I feel like that phone call would happen. And so I do agree with you that you guys don't. And look, man, like you said, this is a bold step. You're the first to do it. I think there's a lot of changes to come with forward-facing sonar with a lot of organizations. We're going to see that, some small, some on the other end of the spectrum, like what you've done. But I like what you said about, hey, don't just come here because of that reason. Come here for all the other great things that the NPFL brings. And dude, I've been here for 4 years since the jump. You and I sat in this bar and grill, me, you, Paul Benson. We sat in this bar and grill in late 2020. You showed me a long-term plan. You told me everything that you wanted to do. Forward-facing sonar wasn't a big deal then, so that wasn't a part of the conversation. But you did, man. You laid it all out to me, and I believed in you, and I believed in the vision of what you guys were trying to accomplish. And that's why I'm still here in 2024. It's been a roller coaster. You and I know that. It has been. It's not all roses, man. There's been some damn thorns. We've had them. But I believe in your passion and what you tried to create. And dude, I said it to you after I'll never forget this moment. It'll always be a special moment to me. And I hope it will for you too. But at Eufaula, first event ever, live was a damn disaster.
Capital D.
With a capital D. Me and Dudley trying to figure it out. Fat cat on the water. He's damn sunburned. He's as red as your shirt. We don't know what we're doing at all. But you guys, I remember standing off the side of the stage with Dudley, and he's like, dude, this is amazing that they're pulling this off with such, a very small infrastructure, like logistically, like what you pull off in that event. But I'll never forget standing on the side of the stage. It's dark. It's like 9 p.m. basically, and you follow the polygraphs up, like everything's done. John Sokup had won. And I remember just like all the emotion coming out of you and me at the same time, because I was like, hey, man, we had a bass tournament. And because it had been you guys announced what, like 2019, I believe.
Yeah. Yep.
And then you and I started talking in late 2020, August of 2020. As a matter of fact, it was almost 5 years. I texted you. I was like, dude, I think it was this week, 5 years ago that you sat here and we talked about all this. But man, I say that because you've created an environment. I saw Zach Burge make a post. Thanks for making bass fishing great again. This was yesterday before the announcement, but he said, thanks for making bass fishing great. I've had side conversations with Patrick Walters. I've had side conversations with John Cox. And the only reason I have those is because they fished everything. They fished literally everything under the sun. And I'm like, hey, because I'm just a little commentator, right? Hey, what about my boys? What do you think about it? Because I'm not even on site anymore. I'm in Wisconsin, right? So I'm like, hey, what do you think? And dude, there's never, ever a negative. Like I don't get that from the guys that have fished everything. So I say, if you're looking at fishing this strictly because of this, you better look at the other stuff as well, because it's a good place to be. Again, I think it's going to be interesting to see the roster. We're going to have some guys leave. Let me ask you this. Do you think, and this was something that I said to you when you first started kicking it around, announcing this with 2 events to go, do you think that will have a fallout with the anglers at all? Because we've still got 2024 tournaments. We got to go to St. John's River in September, and we go to Lake of the Ozarks to wrap it up. And yes, if you're watching, 2024 anglers we're still going to be using it. We're going to be showing it. We're going to be using it for the rest of the season. But do you think there'll be a fallout with that? Or you worry, will it be an attitude shift?
I'm sure it will. I mean, there's been some things happen that it'll be more business-like on certain levels, and that's unfortunate, but I think that's for everyone's safety. I just think that, man, I get the emotion. I get the disagreement. I get the disappointment, because, man, honestly, these guys aren't going to they're not, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I understand what we've taken away from some guys with the concept of within the precept of forward-facing sonar. Like, dude, they're still welcome to come here and fish. And here's the thing, Luke, they're probably pretty damn competitive without it. They may enjoy fishing without it. But my thing is,
take a guy like Patrick Walters that gets it put on his shoulders all the time that he's just the forward-facing sonar king, and he is, but he'll also beat the brakes off of you doing other things.
And so man, there's way more questions than answers. I honestly, I know who's staying. I don't know who's going, to be honest. That's probably a better way to put it.
Okay.
Look, man, I hope we can mend some fences. I think we can have some hard conversations and keep, I already know that there are guys that I thought on my list. Remember, I told you I went through the list. There's guys that are staying that I did not expect to stay.
Okay.
Because, dude, and listen, this sounds horrible, and I'm going to get butchered in the comments for saying this, but there's really very few places you can go because of everything we just described and have the environment that we've created. You know what I mean? I mean, that's just a fact. So I hope you came for the forward-facing sonar, but you stay for the family at the NPFL, right? Yeah. And I hope if you come for the non-forward-facing sonar and you just looking for that you stay because of the family at the NPFL. And man, it's just, I just don't like to see the guys throw it in our face that we don't care because we made this decision. We'll circle back in this conversation in a couple of years and peel the curtain back on some more details that I'm not going to sit here and pour the NPFL business out on the table to God and everybody, but dude, this is really the perfect scenario for the NPFL. We couldn't not do this, period.
Well, and we've talked about them, and you got to find a way to separate yourself, right? And let me ask you this in regards to 2 years from now, because the way it's worded, and I have said ban, you say prohibit. It sounds nicer. That's nicer.
Thank you, Mr. Kent.
Yeah, I was going to say we call those, he used a thesaurus on that one, I think.
Yeah.
But is it fair to say you would be open to bringing it back? Like if there's more, or is this just trudge through? And also I've seen, are we bringing back the A-rig 400 times in the comments? So I'll put you on the spot about that too. It's a double question.
You promised me you wouldn't ask. No, I'm just kidding. So
if that's the most controversial thing we talk about tonight, buddy.
I don't see a situation where we backpedal and bring it back.
Okay.
I don't see a scenario loop where we could even survive that. Right. And I think the NPFL would cease to exist before we brought that back. Just, and you mentioned, I saw somebody ask, why now? Like, why announce it with 2 events left? And you asked me that. And I was like, man,
I'll ask you, Oris, why in the hell are you doing on Labor Day? Because you're really interrupting my pool time, dog.
Listen, you don't actually sit by that pool. I know the fact.
That has not happened.
Matter of fact, you seen those guys that do the posing in the jets? I'm not even sure that pool is real, bro.
No.
No. Hey, really, listen, it's kind of ironic. We did it because if you don't want to be here without forward-facing sonar, we wanted to give you guys an absolute chance to go somewhere else and keep your sponsors happy. Because we shit on anglers. That we say screw anglers, so we do stuff like that. It wasn't the best thing for us to announce it right now. But if I waited to the end of my season, opens are full, invitationals full, and I don't want anglers to feel like we trapped them. Like, oh, you didn't tell me you were going to do this. Now I've got nowhere else to go. I have to fish here, or I have to fish nowhere, and I'm going to lose all my sponsors because I'm not out there on the circuit competing. So we took a bigger risk for the business to inject this chaos midway through the season. We're trying to get our schedule done. We got some things we need to wait on to happen to get everything deconflicted. I wanted this done before we put our schedule out, so guys would know when they look at the schedule, it's non-forward facing. You know what I mean? So there was a lot of that going on as well. Dude, the timing of this has been a damn movie within itself. You know what I mean? So
yeah, a little bit. Woke up early this morning. I'm like, okay, all right.
Well, I'm sorry. Right. I'm sorry I run your. Listen, no one takes Labor Day off. Like, really, I guarantee you
had me working on the damn weekend.
Southern Boating Supply work got done today. I guarantee
there was indeed some Southern Boating Supply work that did get done because there's no rest for the wicked. I don't ever rest. But seen a couple of anglers in the comments. Zach Bird said, in addition to the morale is a huge factor to me. I've not heard a single negative comment. 3 events now. Find another league that is possible right now. You won't. Mad respect for y'all. And I saw Rob.
Don't do it.
I butcher his name every time, and he's always like, I want to get on the top 5, so you got to say my damn name, Rob Robluski. I know how to say it. That's right. See, nailed it. He was actually on the Way Life Tracker a bunch this week, and I had to say it. And Fat Cat was always looking at me side-eye, making sure I got it right. But Rob said, as an NPFL angler and vocal and disappointed he's been with the band, you got to respect Brad, the TNPFL organization, class act, and respect for each other and the anglers. So I think, and look, I've seen he's come and gone several times. Trent Palmer, Trent's a dear friend of mine. I know Trent's upset about this. And Trent was a sponsor in the league, is a sponsor in the league with Sonar Pros, his business. And I know he's gone now, but he actually said, I saw it pop up on the survey. I think it was 61% were for, but then it was kind of, he posted another couple percentages there, and it's gone now because people are commenting like crazy because people are fighting in the comments, and it's amazing. 693,000. Listen, I think you could put a picture of Kamala and a picture of Trump right here, and people wouldn't be bitching at each other anymore than they are about a little box that shows you a fish. But man, we are passionate about our sport. We're passionate about where it's headed, whether you're for innovation, whether you're against, whether you know what I'm saying. And it's something to see, man. It is something to behold.
Well, dude, I'm excited because I think you and Fat Cat, I think you guys are 2 of the best at what you do. I'm biased, but I've seen it from where it started at that dreadful day in Eufaula when I came in and shut the live down because it was so.
Can we tell that story real quick? And I know y'all want to bitch about forward facing and talk about forward facing, but listen, I got to tell this from my point of view, and Brad can tell it. Trent's back 62.6%, and you can throw the other percentages in there, Trent, too. I'll read them out. But we get on live. We're at the Eufaula State Park. Disaster. Okay, like connection issues. There's a reason we do it in the studio. 14%. Trent Palmer coming in. 14% said no forward facing on the survey.
And just real quick, that's of the guys who answered their survey.
Right.
So
14% of anglers surveyed that took the survey.
Correct.
No, 62% were for.
Yeah.
But we had an abysmal, we couldn't hear the anglers talking, obviously. And apparently on Facebook, and listen, I didn't look at my phone. My wife had been texting me. Darian had been texting. My dad, they're like, hey, dude, every time you talk, you're talking over angler. We didn't know. The audio was all jacked. So Brad at one point, and Brad can get a little emotional. He's a lot like Luke Duncan. We're a lot alike. And when both of us get emotional, it gets interesting. We've had a couple of those moments as well. And normally 5 minutes later, we're like, hey, love you, bro. Fist bump, hug it out. And we move on. It's like brothers. So I always say I love people that are that way because it's better than the opposite of someone that whenever you blow up, they're like, well, I'm never talking to you again, you piece of crap. I like that we can blow up and go on. But anyways, Brad comes into the, I'm staring at a camera. I got the headset on. I'm Mr. MPFL Live. I'm nervous as crap. Anyways, this is 1 o'clock on the first day. He walks in and goes, get out of here. Come on. We're killing. What? Whoa. Huh? I thought I had done something. I thought I had maybe posted his personal info live.
He's coming in to give me my Oscar. That's how good this has been.
Yeah, man. I'm like, what is happening? And so he and I go have a very spirited, I'll leave it at that, a spirited conversation. But he's like, you guys are talking over the anglers. We can't hear the anglers. And we're like, Brad, hang on. We haven't heard an angler talk all day. And he's like, what? I'm like, no. In my headphones, I've not heard an angler speak all day. So I'm watching dead air. So me being the mouth runner I am, I feel like, hell, y'all paying me to talk, son. I'm finna talk. But the anglers were talking. It was going out over the program feed, but we couldn't hear it. And Dudley's like, why are we in trouble? I'm like, I don't know, dude. We're in trouble. The very first day, but it's, sorry. You were being nice to me and Fat Cat, but it did start with humble beginnings.
Well, dude, 1,000,000%. Dude, and I think, bro, 5 years for me and Paul to be down there at your house. And I thought, man, is this going to work? Along the way, all the things that have happened, I'm super proud of where we are. I hate the divisiveness. I hate that there's people not happy with the decision. That really is what bothers me the most at my core, is that I know I love Trent. Trent's a phenomenal angler. He's been a great partner to the NPFL. When I say this is the best thing for the NPFL, bro, when I got to a point when I decided and I went to Mike and I said, hey, this is what we have to do, in my opinion. And he, as the CEO, said, if you think this is what we need to do, then this is what we're going to do. I was most upset and drug my feet on it because I was worried that the people that I cared about, I was going to disappoint them, like Trent, like Patrick, like Hunter Sales, like Mike Corbishley. They were adamantly against it, and I knew that, and that really bothered me a lot. Sometimes, Luke, having the courage to do the things that you don't want to do is the hardest thing in the world to do. And dude, when I talk about in my sleepless nights, I wasn't worried about whether the decision was right or wrong. I was worried about the effect it would have on people. And that's tough, man. When you know you're going to disappoint people, but you know you have to do it, that's a tough thing to live with. And that's a tough thing to have to wake up every morning and look yourself in the mirror and have conviction about what you're doing. I have that conviction, and I know this is the right thing to do, and I'm sorry. And I think those guys are all going to be extremely successful wherever they go. I certainly hope they hang out here and fish with us, because I think they'd all be phenomenal at fishing, regardless of whether they got that damn transducer on the front of their boat or not. And you asked me a question about an A-rig earlier. Bro, this isn't the last big announcement the NPFL is going to make. We've got at least 2 more that, since we're ripping the scab off, since we're getting in the dirt, since we're asphalt workers that come home from work and look like you've been working in asphalt all day.
Yeah.
When you say full send, we're going to drop the hammer on it. And we're going to let this thing, we're going to milk this out a little bit. I'm going to do some podcasts tomorrow. We got some more talking to do.
Are
and
you
all
going
that
to do
stuff.
Dave Mercer's podcast? Because he tries to stop people from going on mine. So I'm going to stop you from going on his. That was a joke. Not really. He does indeed try to stop people from coming on my podcast.
Yeah, he called me.
He forgets that I had a podcast for like 4 years before he begged me to do one.
Yeah.
Anyways, got that out of the way.
Yeah, I'll let you handle that.
You're not hiring him, are you? Don't hire him to replace me.
There's well, I mean, you're going to replace Zona. So what's the
dude, somebody else who asked me that, Big Al said that to Fact. He was like, man, I hear Luke's going to replace Zona. I'm like, that's news to me, actually, but I appreciate you.
Maybe you get paid what you was worth. I mean, no reaction. Oh, come on, dude. Hey, so
no comment, dude. I'm probably worth a lot less than what I get. Let's just be honest. Anything more than $1.
Well, that's kind of what I was going to say, but I didn't want to just say that.
Yeah.
Dude,
there's 666,000 on Low Budget Live, and I need that to either go up or down. It can't be 666.
There's a lot of water to cover before we get into 25. The field is going to look different. The league is going to look different. The content and the amount of information that we're outputting on our website is going to look different. So I think we've got it's just the first cookie to crumble, man. But yeah,
more to come. So schedule announcement time. What do you think? Time frame?
Listen, dude, this is and I don't know if your followers know this, but we deconflict from everything. We're the stepchild in the industry. I don't want to be on top of an elite event. I don't want to be on top of an MLF event. I don't want to compete for viewership. I don't want my sponsors. I don't want a sponsor that I have that may also have interest in another trail to feel like they're competing against each other. Dollars are competing against each other on the same week. Like that, we cut it so thin, we have to be cognizant of those things. And everybody's like, you just want Patrick Walters to be able to come over there and win all the money. Patrick's got plenty of money, dude. You see that house he's building? He's got plenty of money.
Listen, Bubba, he wins it from everybody.
He does.
Everybody.
But we go through the extra added layer of deconflicting laterally on timeline and geographically, so elite and BPT anglers have an opportunity to fish our league as well. I believe that the manipulation of anglers through schedule is one of the biggest travesties in bass fishing. Like overlapping red crest and the classic so close that you can't get, you know what I mean? Like all those things, right? We are not going to do that. And dude, the schedule is, you've heard me say it, it's the hardest thing we do.
Well, I've lived it with you, right? Doing other things I'm doing. Like
you're like, hey, how about this, Brad? I'm like, oh, thanks, Luke.
Brad, I got 15 more dates I want to throw in there. But it is from year one, it is the most difficult. And I've said it on the show many times for the folks kind of pull the curtain back as much as I can, like, because schedule bitchers, they're always fans that are like, I don't know why bass goes here and BPT is the same. Man, the schedule is without question the hardest part. What shouldn't say the hardest, but is one of the hardest parts of running.
No. Dude, look, I will say it's the hardest. It is because there's so many things it affects.
Yeah.
Like travel for the production team, travel for the anglers, travel for the staff, time of year, fish cage rich, total weight, weather, inclement weather conditions, and is it going to blow or not? You know what I mean? Like all those things. And when you look at doing
live too, you got to have service. You can't go to the middle of nowhere. You got to have the facilities to put 120 boats in. You got to have places for them to stay when they get there. You can't get them all there and them not have a place where they can gas up their boat or a place to go to the grocery store. You can't, like a lot of people are like, well, why don't you come to Wakabachi Lake in Indiana? Well, by God, there's not a ramp big enough for more than 15 trucks. That's why major tournaments don't go there. Would it be cool? Absolutely. Can they pull it off? No. That's why they don't go to these places.
And our trailer weigh-ins add an extra level of complexity to that as well, right? Like you got to have a facility where we can do that.
Brad coming in hot in the comments out of all these Ryder Duncan coming in with, hey, Dad.
Listen, dude.
From in the house. Shout out to Ryder D, man. Ryder has had a day. We went to Tractor Supply. I made him load all the deer corn that we're putting in feeders right now. And then we came back and we cut some limbs down here on some trees. And then tonight, Brad, he decided to take a shot at the old man. You know, when you get, he's in that 8th grade, you're like, oh man, I'm going to step to Dad, right? Because Hudson does it. And now Hudson's 17 working out all the time, right? He says, I would never want him to hear it, but like, he'll get you a little bit these days, right? He's getting a little bigger, a little stouter. Ryder man decided tonight was the night he was going to, I was literally walking out of the house of the bar and grill. He's like, sup, old man. And like gets me with a little sucker punch. And I was like, no, not tonight, Satan. That's not how this is fixing to go. And then he got a dose. So Ryder, hope you're icing down your war wounds from inside the house while Dad's at the bar and grill.
I have to do that to Michelle from time to time, dude. She still tries to bow up.
Listen, if there's one thing I know, not happen.
Hey, I want to say one more thing. There's two important topics here, and I know we're running late on time, but this is just like NPFL anglers can use this anytime they're not in official practice. You can use it during pre-practice. You know what I mean?
Not official practice. Okay, all right.
Yeah,
I have seen that comment a couple times.
Official, not during official practice, but during pre-practice. It's just like, hell, if you want to come to Pickwick and throw an A-rig and pre-practice, you're not under tournament rules. Once that official practice period
but not official practice. Okay.
Yeah. So the 2025 championship. So the guys this year are qualifying for the 2025 championship that we announced is going to be on Lake Hartwell in October. That will be a forward-facing sonar event because I want them to compete in the championship under the same rules that they qualified under.
Okay.
It's not fair to let Trent and Mike and those guys qualify for the championship with forward-facing sonar and then go, well, sorry guys, we're not going to do that. That's not right. So yeah. There was one other question that
you also announced that's in October next year at Lake Hartwell. We announced that during live.
Yep.
Not the official date's not set, but going there next October. Lake Hartwell for the second NPFL championship for $100,000. 40 guys going to go there.
Yep. Everybody gets paid. So that should be fun. And yeah, man, just a lot of cool. I'm excited about the content side of what we're doing and all that. So I appreciate you. I knew I threw you a curveball because this went from Thursday to Wednesday to Tuesday. Then I'm like, hey, I'm going
to make the announcement. And I said, well, hey, obviously being your guy, I want to do a podcast, whatever the outcome's going to be. I want to talk with you about it. And yeah, we made it happen. I appreciate you taking time out tonight to do it. We've had a ton of people. We still got a ton of people here. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Even Ryder Duncan, who I'm probably gonna slap the crap out of when I walk back in there, just make sure he understands the 13-year-old. Doug, hang on a sec. I got to address the comments. The most recent comment here. Dadgummit, it moved. Duncan didn't have anything else to do tonight. Well, you know what, Doug? Maybe I did. But you know what? Nothing as important as dadgum low budget live, low life, NPFL. So
interesting.
There's so many fights going on in the comments.
Yeah, dude. I just turned, I was like, I got to get some of this, and I wish I hadn't. But look, man, I appreciate all your followers, all your listeners being there. I think they're a huge portion of the NPFL viewership and all that stuff. And you and Fat Cat have been awesome to me and the NPFL. I'm going to address one more thing because it's super important to me. I was sent a comment and I didn't even look at the name. I don't even know if the name was on there, but if this is in any way, shape, or form on anybody else's mind, I want to put it to bed right now. The comment was, well, one of the owners doesn't like forward-facing sonar, and he's also an angler, so that's why they banned it. That I can't stress how false that is, just on the pretense of how we run this business. Myself, Michelle, Al, Paul, we do all the day-to-day operations. I talk to Mike regularly about business stuff, sponsorships, money, finances. He's a savant when it comes to how to handle money, how to allocate, and how to budget, and how to pro forma. And he's just taught me more in the last few years than I ever could have got at a business school. I felt like I've graduated from, Harvard Business, right? So any shots at them is unacceptable, and not going to tolerate it, man. They've done way too much for the NPFL to have those kind of things put out there. And Brandon Ackerson, you can call me and you'll talk about it, bro. That's bullshit. So anything else we need to cover?
That guy likes to run his mouth. He's in my comments all the time.
Oh, call me.
Well, listen, and I'm going to offend a lot of people, but listen, I just get your 10% off discount code from Woo Tungsten and move on.
Oh, I saw you mix it. I did. You know what? I was looking for something, and I was looking to go, man, what time did Luke say we were going to do this? And I started scrolling through some of your comments. Bro, you go hard in the paint with your boys. Yeah. You mixed it up a couple of times today. I was like, dang, bro.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I will. I'll mix it up. I get to the point, like, there's a lot of stuff I'll let ride, water off a duck's back, whatever. I do better with it now than I used to. But then I see some stuff where I'm just like, no, not today. Eat a bag of That's the triple threat's number one saying. Eat a bag of So if you see me hashtagging.
So all these little swear words I've been dropping on here, you were supposed to beep those out?
No, I just do it for fun.
Oh, okay. That's like my bad, dude. I just blew up your whole YouTube channel.
Because obviously I go full send more times than not, but eat a bag of that's what we say around here. That is.
All right.
I had somebody else say this, and I'll say this, bud. He says, I've been doing a podcast for 7 years, and I get excited sometimes during interviews, but if you've never done an interview, I don't want your opinion on how to do an interview. And somebody said, let the guest, I truly give this many damns about how you think I interview. I've been doing it for 7 years. We average a lot of people watch every week, and I see comments like that from time to time, and I'm like, you know what, just click. You can just keep going. I don't care.
Dude, if they knew how often, like, we run a business, right? Like, Luke's a big part of our business. Like, we talk a lot. I talk a lot to Fat Cat. We talk a lot as a group, like, and we're friends. And we can have conversations like this because I know you know where I'm coming from, Luke. And that means a lot to me, that you know where our heart is. You know what we're here trying to do. There's no malintent here, bro. I'm not out trying to ruin people's lives. I'm trying to make sure that me, my family, you, Fat Cat, and Tanner and Travis, now Ken Duke, like, we have responsibilities as people to make sure that this business maintains and thrives, because you guys depend on us to help pay bills and make sure little Rider Man gets into the Ohio State University.
Dude,
so we got to go there.
Don't put this down me. We had a great conversation. Like it was fine. It was spirited. It was good. And then you had to bring that bull crap into the equation. Listen, you guys played a high school team this weekend. We played a high school team this weekend. Everybody played a high school team other than Notre Dame played A&M, and USC LSU really wasn't a high school game. Other than that, everybody else pretty well. Miami, Florida was not a high school game either.
Well, but it turned out to be a high school game. Like we didn't think it was going to be a high school game, but it turned out to be a high school game.
What, Miami, Florida?
Yeah.
Yeah, that turned into a high school game pretty quick.
Miami is way better than I thought they were going to be. Anyway,
I could do another 2 hours on that because I watched a lot of football this weekend. But I'm a Virginia Tech fan. Let's not talk college football. No, we will not say the word Vanderbilt on this show more than what I just said. But God bless y'all's hearts on that. That sucks. I've been there as a Tennessee fan. Been there, and it's the worst night of your life. It just is. It's like Brad and them getting beat by Michigan. Nobody wants to talk about that.
Bro, it's not a safe place to be in Ohio when that happens. And it's happened a lot lately. Like, trust me.
No doubt. No doubt.
I'm gonna light a couple candles, turn off the lights, turn the game on, and just see what happens. It's not safe for anything else to happen. We're not having a party. I'm not going to allow myself to even – I'm going to have Michelle change the combo to the safe. I don't even know what it is, so all the weapons are locked away. Because if it don't go good, bro, I might just drive to Columbus. Like, it's crazy time.
Oh, listen, the amount of insanity that happens in this house, like I'm playing football, is just not good. It's just not good.
Look, it's almost time to start.
Yeah, I know.
Looking at these boys. So, man, I appreciate you, dude.
I appreciate you, buddy. I thank you for coming on, and I will I'll check in on you a couple days from now. Make sure you're still okay. Make sure Michelle hasn't killed you.
I hope I'm here to answer your call, bud.
I hope so too, buddy. I will give you a shout. Ladies and gentlemen, Brad Fuller, the president of the NPFL, right there, taking it on the nose on the forward-facing sonar decision. Appreciate everybody. It's crazy. There's folks screaming and yelling in the comments. I couldn't get to everything. It's just silly. Trying to have a conversation with the comments going on is actually good. Not a good time for me most of the time with my ADD. That is for sure. I appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. I'm fixing to get back to the family because it has been indeed a crazy day. Getting tagged and stuff all day long. And I'm going to mix it up a little bit when that happens. I just have to. Appreciate each and every one of you. Take you out with Biloxi Blues. See ya next week. See you.
Make it last. Spanish moss, a Civil War ghost. Well, I'm going to leave them in the past. Any direction, Lord, I'll be fine. It don't matter.